Ngā tātou katoa.
I call the honourable member to Urewera Flevel. Tēnā koe, Mr Flevel.
Tēnā koe, Mr Speaker. Ka nui te mihi kia koe tēnei ata o tirā. A ki tō tātou kai whakarite, ka nui te mihi kia koe, whakatau nei te āhuatanga tō tātou noho tahi tēnei ata. E ki ana te kōrero, ngai Tuhoe. Kirikawa ki te kupu, kirikawa ki te riri, kirikawa ki te rākau. Tēnā kūtau, haere mai. Ka noho arangi whakaekeau ia Uenuku Rauiri ka puta ko taku whakaihu waka o te hāputa o te riri e ki ana tōna ingoa ko rangi te aorere nāna hoki te kōrero te kotahi nā Tuhoe e kata te pō. E ki ana noho ki te kōrero mā tātua ngā mate o te arawa e tangi mā te arawa ngā mate o mā tātua e tangi. No eira, e homa, kawe mai ngā pare kawa kai a kūtau mā mātau e mehi mā mātau e tangi. Ko puta kē te kōrero, Tuhoe, maumau kai, maumau taonga, maumau tangata ki te pō. O tirā, ngā uri o ngā ika āwhiro o ngai Tuhoe. Haere mai, tēnā kūtau, tēnā kūtau, tēnā kūtau katoa. Ko te ngākau kai te ki me kōrero Māori mo te ro ngāki o tēnei te kau miniti. Engari, arāno i tahi kōrero, te tikanga o te ahu nei ka whakaputa i te reo Pākehā. Kia tuhia e ngā tāngata nei, moa ake nei. Waira, ka wairiri mai, kia hoki mai te wā tuatoru, ko te reo Māori te kōre. Mr Speaker, I thought I'd just say that as the MP for Wairiki, I kind of like to think I've been pretty close to the action over these many years. I don't say that I know it all about this particular bill, but I have been pretty closely involved in terms of many things that have gone on, and I thought I'd take the opportunity over about the 20 minutes I got left, 10 minutes I got left just to put some comments out there. I want to acknowledge the Minister, Minister Finlayson, for his efforts. Like Minister Sharples has said, I've been too at the end of the lift when he's come down the door saying, I've got it. After 5 times it sort of wears off, Minister, but you did it today. Ka nui te mihi kia koe. Congratulations, and also to Mr Woods, and also to the negotiators, Tāmati, Kirsty, tēnā koutou katoa. There'll be more acknowledgements of you, I'm sure, in the future. Mr Speaker, talking about settlements, I think for me, it's pretty hard to get a feeling for what those people who come into this house, like the ones that are here today, really feel, unless you live there, are you a part of the community. When you go to Taranaki, you can't talk about and understand confiscation until you sit there, you sit in front of the people, you sit in those communities, you hear those stories, you go to Parihaka, you feel what it's like and what they feel like when they come through the doors to listen to these settlements. I can't say that I've lived in Tuhoe, close enough, nongo taha, but that be that as it may, I'd like to feel that I've got enough contact and close enough contacts, and like Mr Tauhenare talked about, the fortunate experiences of sitting next to people like Tame over the many years and visiting Tuhoe. The one thing I do remember is about going to the time when the Waitangi Tribunal went into the Tuhoe Valley. Mr Speaker, what a day. What a day. I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it because it's the first time I've seen cars tipped upside down on the side of the road. Not just one, about a dozen. I won't forget the fires. I won't forget the smoke. I won't forget the hot day. I won't forget not one, not two, but 3 at least pōhiri to the tribunal. I won't forget the 30 people who were on horseback who came in and ushered the tribunal into the Tuhoe Nation. I won't forget the naked, semi-naked Tuhoe people to make the point about scorched earth policy that affected those people on that day. I won't forget, even though I missed it, a certain shotgun armed by a certain person aimed at a certain flag. I won't forget that because it's well documented. And that for me brought it home because I was with my young child at the time. It was a hot day and I couldn't stay for the whole day, but it will never ever be forgotten by me as a part of my experience with this bill. But there were others. I think about the efforts that were made, the first efforts that were made to pull together the Tuhoe people. Tāmati, of course, has been acknowledged. I think about Mati Te Pau. And I think about Robu Pouwhare. I think about Te Toka. I think about the many others who took this claim around to try and get some agreement by Tuhoe. The people came in fact, had the signing here in Parliament, and I believe were of one mind, one spirit, of one heart, a real desire to have settlement bring to conclusion the history that has already been discussed in this House. They went through a process of formalising entities, and of course, you'd get to the point where some would fall away. Some would fall away. There were some in Ngāti Haka Patu Heu, a little bit of Maunga Pohatu, a little bit of Waikare Moana. I don't know all the details, but what I do know that some, they fall away as they do in all settlements. But two things happened for me, Mr. Speaker. One was that I was asked to present concerns raised by some people to the Minister of Māori Affairs, and I can put my hand on my heart and say I did that. I was asked to get meetings with the ministers to allow them to put their case, an alternative case to what was being generated. I can put my hand on my heart and said I did that. I was asked to try and see if we could pull the parties together. Hand on heart, I think I tried to do that. But trouble was that it didn't quite pan out. I was asked to attend meetings at Waiho, where the Umutauro Collective pulled together numbers of people asking that I present a case to the ministers. I did that. I remember going to Tuhoe, into Ruatoki, to a visit to He Taraipara, a hui of the collectives of all the marae of Ruatoki, where I was told, in no uncertain terms, firstly, the door is always open. The door is always open to anyone to come through the claims process. I was told, Urewera is at the heart of our settlement claim. Get it back. We tried to facilitate hui, but unfortunately didn't come to pass, as I say. So the things that stick for me about those hui were the door was always open, a proclamation on the part of Pakeke at Ruatoki, that there was a willingness to meet with the other parties, the disaffected parties. That was great. That the Tuhoe settlement could not be held up for the few, especially as everyone had stood together here in this Parliament to get the signing. And finally, sir, that no discussions should be had with any other disaffected groups if Tuhoe substantively was in front of the court. And they were at that time. I think about that because that is a part of the long history that gets us here today. I recall the court cases that Tuhoe have not only had to suffer injustices way back and in terms of the Crown, but internally in a sense because they've been hauled to court. And I need to say that there's a particular president of a political party called the Mana Party, who was the lawyer at the time who had the audacity to say that the Tuhoe settlement should go ahead on the election trail, and yet she was the lawyer at the time that took the action against Tuhoe. That for me was way out of order. So there have been court cases, there have been challenges, Mr. Speaker. I've been to the Taraipara hui in Ruatahuna and Ruatoki, and the view has always been the Urewera is at the heart of the settlement. In fact, sir, I recall one hui in Ruatoki where Tamati and other Pakeke advised me again that will not be, that is at the very heart of how they wanted to move forward. And so it was asked that I give some support and give some assistance. Mr. Speaker, I know it's not right that MPs treat for votes. In other words, throw incentives for people to vote for you. And sir, I've got to say I have not done that. But I am not sure either whether it's appropriate or any rules around people saying that if you do certain things, then they will vote for you. I don't know if it's the opposite side. Well, sir, at the recent signing, I reminded Tuhoe of a gesture made to me by I'll say the Taraipara at the time, but it was probably Tamati, I think, that he said that, sir, if we could achieve this deal today, that a magnanimous gesture would be given to me and that a name of a swamp would be named after me. Now, sir, it's not every day that you get a swamp that may well be named after you, but I make that statement simply to remind us, I suppose, the depth of feeling. Even if it's a shallow swamp, I'll take it. Mr. Speaker, we should remember that all of the debate has been against these difficult circumstances. And there have been others. Firstly, the deal has been on the table against the backdrop of what other members have talked about. And so Tuhoe needs to be commended for the avenues that they've taken. The raids have been talked about. I don't want to go any further than that, despite the fact to say that it would have tested the relationship between the Crown and the negotiators, and I'll leave it at that. It was a sorry saga, and we may come back to that later. Also, perhaps the statements from the Prime Minister from time to time when he said that the Urewera is not going to be part of a settlement. Well, he got proved wrong. Well done, Minister. And I think that the masterstroke, sir, was a deal, or at least a relationship agreement signed on the 28th of June 2011. There was an attempt to bring the parties together. And I say to the Minister and to those associated, masterstroke tērā. Masterstroke tērā. Mr. Speaker, just to wrap up, just to say this, that 3 nights ago, maybe on Native Affairs, there was a Professor Innes Asher who talked about the psychological harm done to the children of this generation about those raids. I hope that the positives of this settlement will also be in the hearts and minds of young Tuhoe in the future. And sir, talking about the history, not long ago I read the book called The Prophet and the Policeman by a person by the name of Mark Darby, talking about the relationship between Urewera and John Cullen, the first policeman ever to arrive in New Zealand. And he went up to Maunga Pohatu, and for all intents and purposes you'd understand why people feel pretty sour about a historical context, because that event was duplicated some 5 years ago. There's a lot at stake at this bill, Mr. Speaker, and you can take it that the Māori Party is fully behind its settlement. We look forward to the future debates, but I commend tāmati ki a koutou ngā mea, nā matakahi o tēnei kaupapa, ki te minita, I mai a koutou, ko eke ki te whare pāre mata, tēnā koutou, kia ora tātou katoa.
I call the honourable member Reno Tirakatni. Tēnā koe.
Tēnā